Hi there, it's Shauna from SBell Wellness. Thank you so much for joining in. Just want to come and share with you a little bit about self-care. As you know, that's something that if you follow me, you know that's something that I've personally been working on for quite some time and have just enjoyed the journey of that. And so I want to really be able to share in that journey. I want you to know that these aren't things that I've perfected by any means, but things that I have found helpful and continue to have as goals for myself in self-care. And so I just want to share those with you so that you can join me in that journey if that's something that you feel like you need as well. So I do have some notes always because I tend to want to share a bunch of different things, and I want to make sure that I've shared what I've prepared for you guys. So really self-care is just about protecting the peace that's within us. And so, you know, it's so easy for us to have perpetual stress. And that just leads to so many things. It can wreak havoc in so many different ways, from, you know, diseases early on all the way to early death. It actually is shown to be something that's really impacting our divorce rate, really just having a negative impact on relationships. You start to forget important things. You know, you're not, you know, comfortable. And so then you're comfort eating. And so that's leading to a ton of different things going on. It really starts to mess with your sleep. And then just an increase in anxiety. And so those are just many reasons that we would want to really tap into a self-care routine and think about those things. And so I'm going to share that, you know, self-care routine is what's key about it. And so I am going to share about 10 things tonight. Don't feel like you have to run away and try all of these things. Find, you know, one or two of them that you know that you would like to try to see how the impact is on you, and then go from there. And I'm not going to share them in any particular order of preference or anything like that. So feel free to kind of choose and, you know, pick out what you think is going to work best for you and then build on that. One of the first things I want to talk about is setting limits with social media, email checking, those kind of things. I know we are on here a little bit in the evening just because I want to accommodate people's routines if you're joining here live. But that is something that I have been really personally working on and seeing an impact on my overall wellness and being able to manage my self-care a little bit with that. So some ideas I have for that are really not scrolling through social media after 8 p.m. is what works for me. And that's just because based on when I start to do kind of my downtime in the evening. And so you do want to try to be off screens like 1 to 2 hours before bed. And so for me, that's when I stop to do that. I will say that you have probably seen me on Instagram a little bit after that. Sometimes I do share some of my evening routines just because I think there are lifestyle things that are encouraging for people, but I do really work hard to not be scrolling during that time so that it's just a quick share so that people are able to get some ideas from that lifestyle piece of it. And then not checking email, you guys. So that has been so powerful for me. Not checking email after that time that I've set in the evening, and then at least not an hour after I wake up in the morning. It has really been so powerful in helping me kind of set my thoughts. So if you're checking email right before you go to bed, now you've got new things to think about instead of sleeping. If you're checking it right in the morning, you've got things that you're already starting to spend a lot of brain time on when there are other things that you may be wanting to tap into for self-care first, and then take care of those things in their own time. So that's number one, setting limits with some of that social media and email checking. Number two, what to do instead of email and screen time at night. So for me, I was sharing with a couple people this week that I have gotten back to a yoga practice at night. And so that has been something that I just enjoy so much. Like tonight's practice was actually called a rinse. And so it's so great for your body to be able to take that time, you're breathing on purpose, being able to let go of some of those rapid thoughts that might be happening from things that have gone on throughout the day. Other things you can do, if yoga is not your thing, there's different meditation. There's such power in gratitude journaling. So just being able to, take some notes of things that you're thankful for, maybe some things that, as small as they might be, things that you did really well today. Give yourself credit for that. Also, just spending some time reading might be helpful at night if it's not something that you have to think deeply about. I also recently, thanks to a friend who reminded me of this great practice, have been doing my legs up the wall at night. And so that's so powerful for so many things. It's so great for our heart health, just really getting that circulation going. It's really great to release those muscles of our back that really get tense during the day. It's actually really good for digestion too. And so that's a really great thing to do before bedtime too. I've done it this week and have slept so much better after doing that practice that I haven't been doing in a while. So definitely something that I would recommend. And guys, you don't have to spend a ton of time on that either. So, the yoga practice that I'm doing, those are like 15 to 30 minute. I love Yoga with Adrienne. That's the little videos that I watch. I just really have liked her practice for years now. And so that's the one that kind of calls me in. But they're short. They're not things that you're having to spend a long time. But I think just giving yourself that amount of time is so important after you've given yourself in so many other ways to other people. Next up, the third one is setting up kind of these self-talk or pause moments in your day. So you can set up little triggers, and there's different ways you can do it. So I actually have some in my phone, and an alarm goes off at preset times during my day when I know I'm going to be near my phone and I'm going to see these little pop-ups. They just pop up like an appointment would, but they're just little positive notes to myself. Sometimes it's just letting me know to breathe on purpose. Sometimes it is, letting me know to do my self-care or to disconnect, those kind of things. I have those things set up as little reminders for me. You can put little Post-its up on mirrors or places in your home that you feel that that's helpful, if that's kind of your style. And then also kind of setting some triggers of where you might be. So maybe it's certain doorways that you go through or certain hallways that you go through at work. Those kind of things can be just little triggers to remind yourself to just take those pause moments, to breathe on purpose, maybe reflect on something that you're grateful for, something that you did really well today, that sort of thing, is a really great way just to have those positive self-talk moments, which is really helpful for self-care. And then the fourth thing that I wanted to share was actually something that's called release meditation technique, or RMT. And so a really good way to do that is at transitions. So, if you're at meetings and you're going to go to a different part of your day, or, vice versa kind of thing, just taking a moment to close your eyes if you can, and then just kind of do a body scan. And so if you start at your toes and you kind of really tighten up those muscles, and then you release them, and you're doing this with your breath, and just start to notice your breath. And there's no way you're going to shut off your thoughts. But what you can start to do is really notice the air coming in and out of your nose as you're slowly moving up your body, your legs, your belly, even, just sending that breath to your heart. And then you're moving through your shoulders and your arms, your hands, your fingers, all the way up. And just taking that, it's like a 2-minute practice at most, but you're really just releasing the tension from your body and being able to reset and be ready. And if you practice this, you'll start to notice how your reaction to things might change. The stress level is definitely going to feel different. And so it's really a nice, simple, easy self-care practice that you can put into routine and feel good about it. Next up is sleep. You guys know I've talked about sleep many times. Sleep is so, so important. And it really is recovery time. It's recovery time for our bodies. It's so important for adults to get like 7 to 8 good hours of sleep and at night. It's really like, I heard someone refer to it as a brain dishwasher, and I just love that, because it really is a time that our brain is trying to repair. Our body is processing these hormones that a lot of times can wreak havoc in many different ways in our body. So we really want our body to be able to have that time to process that. It's really dealing with just cellular debris and getting rid of all of those things that our body needs for repair. So sleep is so important in so many ways, but that's definitely one that you want to start tapping into, having a bedtime routine, having something that's pretty consistent so that you can support your self-care through sleep. The next thing is nutrition. So you guys know, as a health coach in nutrition, I've really been focused on this in my personal journey first, and now with health coaching. And it's something that's so, so powerful and that's not talked about enough in conventional medicine. And so I feel like it's something that we can all help each other with and really be able to get so much self-care from that. So I do encourage finding out about sensitivities and allergies, food intolerance, those kind of things that you might have going on. So that can really have an impact. And, what the literature tells us on that is that most people actually have a sensitivity to at least one of 11 different food groups. And so it's highly likely that there are sensitivities or intolerances that are going on and having an impact in your health in so many different ways. And so that's the number one thing that I like to encourage with nutrition. And then next up is thinking about food as fuel. And so when you start to kind of have this mind shift about food as fuel, then you start to kind of reflect on the choices that you're making with food and understanding what foods have an impact on your body. You'll start to become a little more self-aware of how you feel when you eat certain things, and then in turn start to have a better handle on self-care because you're making those choices a little more mindfully. I always say, I call them my detour meals. It's not that you want to restrict yourself from things, but that you're crowding out things that don't serve your body and using those things that do fuel your body. So I kind of try to follow that like 90-10 rule. And so 90% of the time eating those things that I know my body is fueled by, and then allowing that 10% to be those detour meals, as I call them, just to see that. And I'll be honest with you, the more that I've practiced this, the more I see those signals much more easily on those 10% kind of detour things that happen. And so then it starts to be more powerful and start to be more motivating for having this be a part of a routine self-care thing. Another thing with nutrition is, it's hard to say, like, I'm not following one diet or another. I think dieting can be a challenge and maybe not give the results that most people want. But doing things like tuning into eating the rainbow, right? So really getting that color in your diet. There's so much power in those nutrients in the plant that you're eating. And so eating the rainbow, eating those greens, drinking that water is really important for the body. So those are great places to start with tuning into nutrition. Also considering quality supplementation. And so even if you're eating well, the soil that our food grows in is just so depleted of nutrients for so many different reasons these days. And so really considering quality supplementation, like the products that we have with doTERRA, can be very helpful for you. So I have other, videos where I've shared more in detail about supplementation. And so you can search back for those if you want more information, or you can definitely reach out to me and we can kind of talk through some of those. But really tapping into that gut health through nutrition and supplementation is really going to have an impact on your mental health, your stress level, and all of your overall wellness. And so that's a really great way to start thinking about self-care. The next thing is oil routines. Of course, I can't go without sharing about oil routines. My number one thing to encourage you to get them in routine is to keep them out. So keep them in places that you're going to be kind of following in your routine, making sure that you have them. Some of the kind of top ways that I do that is having my oils out that I know that I'm using for like physical needs or different conditions, right? So for example, I have my immune roller that I use every single day on the bottoms of my feet before I go to work, really helping my immune system stay well, especially when working with kids. And then I have my thyroid blend that I use. And so that's, right where I get dressed in the morning. So I'm putting that right on during that routine. And then another one that I often have right there where I'm getting dressed is the Clary Calm oil. That's an oil for supporting women's health. And so that's one that I'm putting on in certain parts of my cycle. And so that's one that I'm going to have right there where I know that I'm getting dressed and can put that on right away during that routine. Another one is using oils for emotional support. So much power in being able to use plants to support your emotional health. And so I often kind of just pick a couple of oils that I'm kind of drawn to at my little oil station that I have set up in the family room. And so in the morning, I just go for those. And then sometimes I just carry them with me and have them throughout the day. Two of my top big ones, you guys know that balance is forever my favorite and always going to be with me, but love that the holiday ones have provided us this roller. And so that's been going with me, but balance is definitely one. And I've been really drawn to rose, which is such a powerful oil for just helping set that energy around us. And so I've been using that oil kind of over my heart, pulse points, behind my ears throughout the day as well. So those are definitely two that I have been drawn to emotionally recently, but there's just so many oils that have those emotional supports. You can use resources like the Essential Life book to really help you kind of look at, there's some charts in there, different emotions that you might be dealing with and what plants kind of you want to try out for that. Next up is oils with exercise. So I use Motivate and Breathe during my exercise. And so I talked about yoga. I don't think I mentioned my morning routine exercise is actually riding my stationary bike. That's what I enjoy doing. It feels more like fun and less like a chore for me, which is what I need from exercise. And so I'll use my Motivate because I'm doing that first thing in the morning and I kind of need that boost. It's got some nice citrus and peppermint in there for that. And then I actually take a Breathe drop, which is like a throat drop, and it really just helps to open up the airways. When I was younger, I actually had exercise-induced asthma type of feelings. And so I have just learned that opening up my airways helped me feel that self-care and helped me feel kind of empowered with exercise versus kind of worry and anxious feelings that breathing might start to be a problem. So if that's something that you experience, then that might be helpful for you as well. And then the other oil routine that's pretty staple is that sleep routine. So using Breathe and Serenity and the diffuser have just kind of always been our go-to. Breathe just helps to open up those airways while you're sleeping, and then Serenity is our restful blend. And so it just really helps to set the tone of the environment for sleep. And then Balance is my oil that I rub on the bottoms of my feet, really helps to settle my body for sleep. Lately, I've actually been rubbing it in my hair before I go to sleep. And so you just kind of learn those things that your body responds to and feels good about in your self-care routine with your oils. All right, so the 8th thing that I wanted to share is, we talk about self-care, we kind of start to think about things like going and getting things done, right? And I think those things have their place. You definitely have to see where they fit in your budget and that sort of thing, but I do want to mention them because I feel like having those relationships with those people who actually provide the service is actually a very good form of self-care as well, because you feel like you're being cared for by those people if you start to have those relationships over time. And so I personally feel that with my massage therapist, I have actually been going to Reiki sessions, which is actually just a really nice way to transfer energy. For me, it literally feels like a recharge button. I just feel like my batteries are recharged when I go and have that service. And so I'm just so blessed that that's in my life. So that's when I wanted to mention, I know people go to salt rooms and do saunas, might even go to a yoga class, those kind of things, whatever it is that you feel kind of helps with that self-care and feel taken care of by someone else who's there to do that for us. So definitely wanted to mention those. Two more that I'll mention. So I have found that detox baths have been a really great way to do that self-care on purpose. And so I've never really been a bath taker over the years, but I've learned just how powerful they can be to help the body. And so, our body is getting so many toxins from the environment, from products, from things that are just out of our control a lot of the time. And so being able to support our body's ability to naturally detox by using some Epsom salts, putting a little bit of some of your favorite oils in there is a really great way to help the body release some of those things. A lot of times, just listening to some music or an audiobook, not something that you have to do a lot of thinking with, that can help you kind of feel taken care of as well. And then the last thing that I wanted to share about self-care is that if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. So I think that we have to get much better at being able to stop stretching ourselves too thin, be able to say no to the things, don't feel guilty for them, don't feel like you have to even explain why you're saying no to those things. If it's not a yes, then it's a no. And so I think that the more we can take on that mindset, the more that we're going to realize that we are caring for ourselves, that we're not disappointing other people, because if it's something that we're stretching ourselves to do, we're not fully there for them anyway. And so I think that's a really important kind of thing for us to start thinking about with self-care. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope there was a couple of things that resonated with you and that you feel like, there's a couple of things that you took note and wanted to really bring into your life. If there's any way that I can help support you with that, I love accountability, not from the perspective of judgment by any means, but I think accountability is very helpful for us as people to keep us going with those things. So if you ever need accountability for any of these things, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to support you with that. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, you can jump on over to sbellwellness.com. All my contact information is there. If we're not connected in other ways, you can reach out and let me know how I can support you. I hope that you're moving into this holiday season in peace and being able to take care of yourself. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you, and I will see you next time.